Welcome back to Is It Still Good, the channel where we watch older films and let you know if they still hold up. Today, we're going to talk about what is absolutely my favorite horror comedy of all time, Evil Dead 2. But first, let's sell a book. Okay, hopefully we sold some books. And today we're going to talk about a movie that has been with me for a very long time. It is part of who I am. It is my favoriteest horror comedy of all time. When I did the review for The Burbs, I think I misspoke and I said The Burbs was my favorite horror comedy. I don't know why I spaced on Evil Dead 2. I mean, it's been with me forever. I've watched this movie 180 billion times. Just rewatched it again for the review. Let's get into it. Evil Dead 2, directed by Sam Raimi, R-rating, horror comedy, 1987. I was just 7 years old when this gem came out. Runs 1 hour, 25 minutes in its current iteration that I saw. And although I don't really care what Rotten Tomatoes has to say about anything anymore, this has 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. I thought that was interesting. 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb, 91% on Google. And this stars Bruce Campbell. And Bruce Campbell's been in a few things. I saw him in a few shows, after this. He was in like Xena, Warrior Princess, some other crap. And then had a resurgence in a show called Ash vs. Evil Dead, which was okay. It was kind of funny. But out of the trilogy, Evil Dead 1, Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, that's the third one. Evil Dead 2 has always and will always be my absolute favoritist of all. This movie's got I don't know, it just gets me. Something about this movie is just very me. I wouldn't say that this movie is scary per se. That being said, what it implies, the dead coming back and so on, I mean, we've seen that a million times. However, there is an element of this where the main character, Ash, does go insane, and that to me is very scary. So it does have some scary elements to it, although I mainly just smile throughout this whole movie. I mean, this is 85 minutes of just happy for me. This movie really only exists because of Stephen King. According to Bruce Campbell, Stephen King liked Evil Dead 1 so much, he convinced the production company, or the head of the production company, over dinner to produce Evil Dead 2. So that's why we have it. So thanks to Stephen King, yet another awesome thing he's done for the horror community. There's a bunch of fun trivia about this movie that we're going to get into as well, but you can certainly go down the rabbit hole yourself, check it all out. You're going to find a ton of fun stuff about it. There's a lot of YouTube videos about it, behind the scenes making of stuff. This movie was shot forever and ever. Actors kept quitting or being let go or whatever, had a lot of problems, had budgetary issues, and still they slapped together something that makes me very, very happy. This has gone on to be a tremendous cult classic. And the plot of the movie is pretty simple. I mean, a guy and his girlfriend in a cabin, secluded spot in the woods. Things go wrong, yada, yada, yada. He cuts her up with a chainsaw. Your standard fare. So if you get into the trivia behind this, there's a lot of fun stuff. The giant demonic head from the end went missing, and it was found in a haunted house many years later. It's pretty cool. Right? Because it was too big for them to transport. Bruce Campbell's favorite of the trilogy as well. So he agrees with me on this, guys. Both Bruce Campbell and I prefer Evil Dead 2 the best. It's not a remake of Evil Dead 1. It's just got a synopsis of Evil Dead 1 in the first 10 minutes. It's goofy. There's things that have been changed. It doesn't really matter. But I will say this. I rarely, if ever, watch Evil Dead 1 anymore. It's not a bad movie. I like it. But I just like 2 so much better. And it does have the wrap up of 1 in the beginning, so it's kind of I don't know. It's yeah, I got 1. So for me, I just go right to 2. Bruce improvised the scene where he fought with his hand in one take. He did such a good job that was it. That's what's in the film. So he was a very talented physical comedy guy. Big time. Oh, and this was interesting. I always wondered why there was different colored blood throughout the movie. It was to avoid an X rating at the time. So stupid. But that being said, I think it's hilarious now. It would be cool to see a version of this movie with just red blood. I'd like that. There's green, there's black, there's red, there's a fuchsia color, I guess. I don't know. but it was to avoid an X rating. I did not know that. So, and this was still released unrated, by the way. Yeah, this movie's like me every time I'm home alone. Oh, this is really sad. There was a lot of deleted scenes that were actually lost. And even though the movie probably didn't need them and got a little bloated and they chopped it down, I would have loved to seen those. That would have been awesome. That's a tragedy. That evil noise that's like traveling through the forest a couple of times. That was a combination of Sam Raimi's voice and audio samples of Orson Welles, technically making Evil Dead 2 the last film Orson Welles was featured in. That's hilarious to me. It's now a cult hit, of course. Everybody loves Evil Dead 2. They better. Bruce Campbell kills me in this one. He is so funny. The guy completely gets me. You know, I wonder why his career didn't go in a different trajectory. I mean, I could have seen him as like a leading man type. Also, there was probably a vacuum left from like Leslie Nielsen in like the Naked Gun movies and stuff like that. I could see Bruce Campbell pulling that off really well. So, I don't know. I mean, it's not like his career was really bad, but I just expected him to blow up after this, and he kind of really didn't. Went into television, did a bunch of things. You know, he's okay. Everybody loves Bruce. I'm a huge fan, but I'm a huge fan of him in these movies. That's pretty much it. So, just like a lot of people. The goofiness of this movie makes me so happy. It's completely goofy. There are things that have been rushed. There are things that, you know, you might want to redo if you were the director, and they were just left in, and they're hilarious, and I love it. It kind of reminds me in a way of the old home movies we used to make as kids, inspired by Evil Dead 2, by the way. You know, they were never like very good or anything, but just that spirit. They must have been having so much fun in certain elements of this. I do understand that a lot of elements of the shoot were grueling and very difficult for the cast, and it went on forever. That being said, it's a super fun movie to watch, and it really reminds me why I love movies in the first place, and it does a great job of transporting me. As ridiculous as it is, I'm glued to it. Every scene makes me happy. I laugh the whole time. I'm fine with all of it. I think Evil Dead 2 is perfect. 1 was okay. Army of Darkness is alright. It's just a little too polished looking for me, and I don't know. I'd rather watch like Time Bandits or something other than Army of Darkness usually. It's got some good moments. But Evil Dead 2, front to back, is just an outstanding, hilarious film. Good for like movie night or anything like that. Would pair really nicely with like a Monty Python kind of thing. You know, it's just one of those really fun movies. A must for the Halloween season, of course. So, my favorite, and actually the only part I find to be really scary in the whole film, is when Ash sort of goes with it and starts to like laugh along with the inanimate objects that are laughing at him, and just sort of go with it. It's just a brief moment, but like that does kind of like bother me a little bit. It would suck to like get to that level of insanity, you know? There's so many great wrong things with this movie too. Like everything that's cheesy about it is what makes it perfect. I wouldn't change a single thing about this movie. Bruce is just brilliant, especially in his physical comedy in like every way. The guy could have pretty much done anything, I think. Just an awesome, awesome movie. Yeah, the entire hand sequence too. I noticed watching this movie, it's like a perfect metaphor for like addiction. I don't know if that was intentional, but watch it again with like that in mind, and it's funny. And again, like I said, it's not scary to me. There are scary elements. This movie just more makes me happy. I love it. I highly recommend it. If you're a sick person like I am in that way, this will probably just make you happy as well. I'm sure you've already seen it, but if you haven't, please go watch Evil Dead 2. Personally, I would give it a 9 out of 10. It's that good. I would even say 9.5, but I know that's just me and my bias. I love the movie so much that I would give it a 9.5. Objectively, it's a 9. It's an 8.5 even for some people. For me, it's a 9 out of 10, for sure. For sure. This is the king. The king of the trilogy is Evil Dead 2. It's fall times, the weather's getting colder, that means it's Halloween times, that means all these movies have to be watched all the time. Keep the spirit alive. Go watch Evil Dead 2. and hail to the king, baby. Anyway, we will see you next time on Is It Still Good?